The deepest fear isn't of the known enemy, it's of the unseen, the phantom that stalks the shadows. Imagine this. April 1st, 1945. The largest amphibious assault the Pacific has ever seen slams onto the beaches of Okinawa. American forces, hundreds of thousands strong, pour ashore, ready for a grinding, brutal fight. Their objective? The last major stronghold before the Japanese homeland itself. The air is thick with the smell of salt and anticipation, the roar of naval guns, the relentless churn of landing craft. Every soldier knows what's at stake. But amidst the familiar M1 Garands and Thompson submachine guns, something else is quietly making its way onto that beach. Something that looks like it's been ripped straight from a forgotten pulp sci-fi novel. Only 150 men carry these futuristic contraptions. The U.S. Army T3 Carbine, equipped with the T120 infrared sniper scope. For the first time in the long, bloody history of human conflict, these American troops can do the impossible. They can see in absolute, suffocating darkness. And more terrifyingly for the enemy, they can kill what they see. Lieutenant General Mitsuru Ushijima's Japanese 32nd Army has no earthly idea that their most potent weapon, the night itself, is about to turn on them, becoming their greatest betrayer. This isn't just a new gun. It's a fundamental rewrite of the rules of engagement. This weapon changes everything. Within a mere 7 days, a startling, almost unbelievable statistic emerges from the hellscape of Okinawa. 30% of all Japanese casualties inflicted by American rifle and carbine fire come from these 150 infrared-equipped carbines. Think about that for a moment. Not from the 180,000 invading troops, not from the colossal artillery bombardments that shake the island to its core, nor the devastating naval gunfire that tears swaths through the landscape. No. Fully a third of the rifle deaths are attributed to just 150 men, wielding what their comrades, in a mix of awe and fear, are already calling Buck Rogers ray guns. This wasn't just a battlefield advantage. It was a technological declaration of war on the darkness itself. A silent, invisible revolution had begun. To truly grasp the monumental impact of this technological leap, we have to rewind 2 years. The year is 1943. The setting: the steaming, suffocating jungles of Guadalcanal and New Guinea. Here, American soldiers learned a fear far deeper than the crack of a rifle or the scream of a shell. They learned to fear the darkness itself. The Japanese Imperial Army had perfected a terrifying art: night infiltration tactics. Small, highly disciplined teams of Imperial soldiers, often armed with nothing more than their Arisaka bolt-action rifles, bayonets, and grenades, would become literal ghosts after sunset. They moved with an almost supernatural stealth through the dense jungle undergrowth, slipping through supposedly secure American lines. Their objectives were precise and psychologically devastating: striking at command posts, cutting vital communication lines, sowing chaos, and then, just as mysteriously as they appeared, vanishing back into the jungle mist before the first hint of dawn. The psychological impact of these raids was utterly devastating. Imagine the scene. American troops, already pushed to their physical and mental limits by the relentless, brutal combat of daylight hours, found absolutely no respite after sunset. They lay in their foxholes, eyes strained against the inky blackness, ears pricked for the slightest sound. Every rustle of leaves, every snapping twig, every distant shadow became a harbinger of unseen menace. Technical Sergeant William Morrison, of the 32nd Infantry Division, decades later, still spoke of the raw terror in his voice. You'd hear them moving out there in the dark, rustling in the leaves, maybe a twig snapping. You couldn't see a damn thing. but you knew they were coming. Sometimes they'd just lie there for hours, waiting for you to fall asleep. Then you'd wake up to find your buddy's throat cut in the foxhole next to you. And this wasn't just warfare. It was psychological torture, a slow, agonizing erosion of morale and sanity. The Japanese had honed these tactics through years of brutal fighting in China and Manchuria. Their Imperial Army training placed immense emphasis on night operations. Soldiers practiced moving silently through the most unforgiving terrain for hours on end, mastering the art of invisibility. They learned to navigate by the faint glow of distant stars, to differentiate between the natural sounds of the jungle and the telltale movements of an enemy. Their strikes were designed for maximum psychological effect, not just casualty counts. A single, well-trained and equipped Japanese soldier could effectively terrorize an entire American company throughout a long, tropical night. By 1943, this pattern had become dreadfully predictable, a nightly ritual of fear and dread. American forces would bravely advance during the day, relying on their overwhelming firepower and air support to seize objectives. But as soon as darkness descended, the battlefield irrevocably shifted. The night, like a vast predatory beast, belonged unequivocally to Japan. Small groups of Imperial soldiers would infiltrate American positions, laying insidious mines, severing vital telephone wires, and silently eliminating sentries. Even when these audacious raids failed to inflict significant casualties, their true purpose was achieved. They shattered American morale, leaving entire units sleepless, exhausted, and effectively combat ineffective. The very act of fearing the unknown was exhausting, debilitating, and ultimately deeply demoralizing. This was the crisis facing the United States military. The solution couldn't be more training in darkness. It had to be a way to remove the darkness. And so an urgent directive landed on the desks of the Army Engineer Board at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. The challenge they faced seemed, at first glance, utterly impossible. Develop a solution to Japanese night infiltration. How do you give American soldiers the ability to see in complete, absolute darkness? The technology to achieve such a feat barely existed, confined mostly to hushed laboratory experiments and obscure theoretical papers. It was a moonshot, a scientific gamble against the clock. Yet, by late 1943, a small group of brilliant civilian researchers at the electronics laboratory had begun to assemble the components of a working system. The breakthrough wasn't a single invention, but rather a stroke of ingenious combination, bringing together three existing, disparate technologies into a synergistic whole. First, an infrared spotlight. Imagine a car headlamp, but specially filtered to emit only invisible infrared radiation. This light, though unseen by the human eye, would flood the target area. Second, an electronic image converter. This was the true magic. This device could pick up the invisible infrared light reflecting off objects and translate it into a visible green-tinted image. It was like giving your eyes a new spectrum of vision. And third, a portable power source capable of generating the high voltage necessary to operate this delicate electronic system. The culmination of their efforts was the T120 infrared sniper scope. This wasn't a toy, it was a revolution. It was a device that could reveal human figures in complete darkness at ranges up to 70 yards, turning night into a dimly lit, ghostly green twilight. Now the engineers faced another crucial decision. What weapon would serve as the platform for this groundbreaking scope? The M1 Garand rifle, while powerful and iconic, was simply too heavy and cumbersome to effectively support the delicate electronic equipment and its external power source. The Thompson submachine gun, a close-quarters legend, lacked the pinpoint accuracy required for precise night shooting. But then, there was the M1 Carbine, weighing a mere 5.5 pounds, chambered in its potent .30 caliber cartridge, and sporting an 18-inch barrel. It provided the perfect platform. Its semi-automatic fire, manageable recoil, and compact size wouldn't overwhelm the infrared system. The M1 Carbine had already proven itself a versatile and reliable workhorse. By 1945, manufacturers like Winchester and Inland Division had churned out over 6 million M1 carbines, making it the most produced American small arm of World War II. It had armed everyone from nimble paratroopers to rugged tank crews, from resilient Filipino guerrillas to vital rear echelon personnel. Its gas-operated rotating bolt system was robust and reliable, even in the unforgiving, humid conditions of the Pacific Theater. And its non-corrosive primer ammunition was a significant advantage, resisting the barrel corrosion that notoriously plagued .30-06 weapons in tropical environments. But the T3 Carbine represented something entirely new, a transformation of a familiar weapon into a tool of unseen death. Engineers meticulously modified the M1 carbine receiver to accept an integral scope mount, completely eliminating the conventional iron sights. The T120 infrared scope sat atop this mount, while a large infrared spotlight, its beam unseen by the naked eye, was strategically positioned beneath the barrel. A snaking power cable connected the scope to a canvas backpack containing a bulky 6-volt lead-acid battery and, crucially, a vibrator transformer. This transformer was the heart of the power system, stepping the voltage up to the staggering 4,250 volts required to make the image converter tube function. The complete system, weapon and battery pack combined, weighed a formidable 34 pounds. This was no lightweight solution. Operating the T3 Carbine was a team effort. Typically, one soldier would carry and fire the weapon, bearing the considerable weight of the system. A second soldier would carry spare batteries, a critical load given the power demands, and provide essential security for the operator, who was often focused intensely through the scope. Sometimes, a third soldier would join the team, providing additional security and serving as a crucial communication link with conventional forces. The infrared spotlight could illuminate targets up to 70 yards away, and through the scope, those targets appeared as ghostly green figures, moving eerily through an electronic twilight. For the first time in human history, the absolute sanctuary of darkness was no more. William W. Garstang, one of the brilliant electronics laboratory personnel involved in the T-120's development, later recounted that his company managed to produce an astonishing 1,700 infrared scopes during World War II. Every single one was destined for either the critical battlefields of Okinawa or the Philippines. Training for these specialized T3 Carbine teams proved absolutely crucial. This wasn't like aiming a conventional rifle. The infrared scope presented a green-tinted image, with inherently limited depth perception and a frustratingly narrow field of view. Operators had to undergo rigorous training to distinguish between the subtle movements of vegetation, rustling in the wind, and the telltale creeping of human figures through the undergrowth. They practiced relentlessly, tracking moving targets and learning to compensate for the carbine's trajectory at night fighting ranges. But perhaps most importantly, they had to master the delicate art of coordination with conventional forces to avoid the catastrophic risk of friendly fire incidents. In the darkness, perception was everything, and misperception could be fatal. The T3 Carbine teams arrived on Okinawa in April 1945, discreetly scattered among the various American Army units, preparing for what military planners knew, with grim certainty, would be a vicious, blood-soaked campaign. Intelligence reports confirmed that Lieutenant General Ushijima had transformed the island into an impregnable fortress, garrisoned by 77,000 Japanese troops, including seasoned veterans from the brutal Guangdong Army in Manchuria. These forces had constructed an elaborate, almost subterranean defensive network of caves, tunnels, and mutually supporting strong points, all designed with one chilling purpose: to bleed American forces white, to turn every inch of ground into a costly, agonizing victory. Ushijima's defensive strategy was shrewd, relying heavily on the very night operations that had so terrorized American troops across the Pacific. During daylight hours, his Japanese forces would hunker down, deep within their fortified positions, weathering the relentless American artillery bombardments and devastating airstrikes. They would endure, absorbing punishment, waiting. But after sunset, as the tropical darkness descended, small, lethal teams would emerge from their hidden lairs. Their mission: to harass American positions, to lay insidious mines in the paths of advancing troops, and to conduct lightning-fast raids designed to sow fear and discord. The 32nd Army had drilled these tactics extensively, and many of its soldiers possessed years of combat experience in night fighting, honed in campaigns across China and Southeast Asia. The Japanese commander understood the grim arithmetic of his situation. He knew he could not possibly stop the American invasion through conventional defensive tactics. His forces were outnumbered more than 2-1, and American firepower superiority was overwhelming, almost unimaginable. But Ushijima's genius lay in his understanding of the psychological dimension of warfare. If he could drag out the campaign, turning every day into an attritional nightmare through effective night harassment, inflicting steady, painful casualties, and most crucially, breaking American morale, he might just force the United States to reconsider its desperate plans for invading Japan itself. The night, he believed, was his to command, his ultimate weapon. Then came the night of April 6, 1945. Japanese forces, with the grim determination born of their samurai traditions and years of tactical success, launched their first major infiltration attempt against American positions on Okinawa. Small, silent teams of Imperial soldiers, armed with their trusty Arisaka rifles, deadly Type 97 hand grenades, and satchel charges packed with explosives, crept toward the American perimeter. They moved with the confident assurance honed by 2 years of wildly successful night operations across the entire Pacific theater. In every previous campaign, this very tactic had spread terror and despair among American forces, from the sweltering heat of Guadalcanal to the misty islands of the Philippines. But this time, something was different. This time, the darkness, their most trusted ally, became their ultimate betrayer. Private First Class Robert Chun of the 96th Infantry Division lay crouched behind his T3 Carbine, his world reduced to the green-tinted glow of the infrared scope. He scanned the terrain, patiently, systematically. His naked eye could never have pierced the veil of that Okinawan night. But the scope revealed what was truly there. 3 Japanese soldiers, crawling through tall, rustling grass, approximately 200 yards to his front. He watched them, a silent, unseen guardian, noting their weapons, their gear, their steady, deliberate approach. He waited for them to enter the critical 70-yard effective range of his revolutionary system. The lead Japanese soldier, oblivious to the unseen eyes watching him, rose to a cautious crouch, signaling his companions to advance. Chun, with the cold precision of a predator, centered the scope's reticle on the figure's chest. His finger tightened, then squeezed the trigger. The .30 caliber cartridge fired with a muffled report, the T-23 flash hider doing its job perfectly, concealing the telltale muzzle flash that would have instantly betrayed his position. Through the eerie green lens of his scope, he watched the Japanese soldier crumple, collapsing soundlessly into the grass. The other two figures froze, bewildered, disoriented by the sudden, inexplicable death of their leader. Chin fired again, and again. Both remaining infiltrators fell within seconds, silent green specters vanishing into the electronic ether. For the first time in the long, brutal history of the Pacific War, Japanese soldiers had been killed by an enemy they could not see, could not locate, and could not, in any meaningful way, fight back against. The age of night vision warfare, a paradigm shift in the fundamental nature of combat, had irrevocably begun. Similar chilling scenes unfolded across the American perimeter that night. T3 Carbine operators, positioned in carefully concealed defensive positions, picked off Japanese infiltrators with almost mechanical precision. The infrared scopes, these devil's eyes, as the Japanese would come to call them, revealed approaching enemy soldiers as clearly as if they were silhouetted against a bright, moonlit sky. American troops, who had endured 2 years of abject terror from invisible nighttime attackers, who had known the gnawing dread of unseen bayonets and phantom footsteps, suddenly found themselves holding an overwhelming, almost unfair advantage. The tables had turned with brutal, decisive finality. Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez of the 7th Infantry Division later described the profound psychological impact of that first night and the subsequent days. His words painted a vivid picture. It was like watching a movie. These green figures moving around in the scope, thinking they were invisible, thinking they owned the night. Then you'd fire and they just drop. Word spread fast that we had some kind of secret weapon. The sheer relief, the almost giddy sense of empowerment, must have been intoxicating for soldiers who had lived in constant dread of the dark. The guys started calling us the Ghost Killers, Rodriguez added, a moniker that perfectly encapsulated their new, terrifying role. The effectiveness of the T3 Carbine completely exceeded all expectations, even those of its most ardent proponents. During the first 7 days of the Okinawa campaign, these 150 infrared-equipped weapons, a minuscule fraction of the overall American infantry arsenal, accounted for approximately 30% of all Japanese casualties inflicted by American small arms fire. This represented a kill ratio utterly unprecedented in military history. Imagine, roughly 1/50th of American infantry weapons were responsible for nearly 1/3 of all enemy rifle casualties. It's a statistic that boggles the mind, a testament to the transformative power of technological superiority. Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson, the astute operations officer for the Ziv Corps, filed a report that captured the strategic significance of this shift with chilling clarity. He wrote, "The psychological effect on enemy night infiltration attempts has been decisive. Japanese forces appear to have lost confidence in their ability to operate effectively during hours of darkness. Previously reliable tactics have been abandoned, and enemy activity after sunset has decreased markedly." This was more than just a tactical victory. It was a psychological triumph, a blow to the enemy's spirit that resonated far deeper than any conventional casualty count. From the Japanese perspective, the experience was not only terrifying, but utterly incomprehensible. Sergeant Hiroshi Tanaka of the 62nd Division, a survivor of one of those early ill-fated infiltration attempts, later recounted his experience to bewildered American interrogators. His words paint a picture of utter disbelief and profound fear. "We moved as we had always moved, silent and invisible in the darkness. But the Americans could see us somehow. They fired with perfect accuracy from positions we could not locate. It was like fighting demons who could see through the night itself." The sheer terror of being hunted by an invisible, omniscient foe must have been paralyzing. Japanese commanders, veteran strategists of night combat, struggled desperately to understand what new, monstrous force they were facing. Radio intercepts picked up by American intelligence revealed a frantic cascade of confusion and fear among Imperial units attempting night operations. Some reports spoke of American soldiers possessing magical vision or devil eyes. Others, perhaps grasping at more conventional explanations, theorized that the Americans had developed a new type of artillery with pinpoint accuracy, capable of targeting individual soldiers in the dark. The terrifying truth, that individual American soldiers could see and kill in complete darkness, seemed utterly beyond their comprehension, shattering their very understanding of warfare. Intelligence personnel within the 32nd Army scrambled to develop countermeasures. They experimented frantically with smoke screens, hoping to obscure the mysterious American night vision capabilities. They tried diversionary attacks, attempting to draw attention away from primary infiltration routes, hoping to confuse whatever detection system the enemy was using. Some units even resorted to approaching American positions from multiple directions simultaneously, hoping to overwhelm what they believed must be a limited detection system. But nothing worked. The T3 Carbine operators, masters of their new domain, simply adapted, maintaining their invisible vigil. As the campaign progressed, the T3 Carbine operators, these new ghost killers, developed their own refined tactics. They learned to coordinate seamlessly with conventional forces, using radio communication to direct devastating artillery fire onto larger Japanese formations that sometimes appeared in their scopes, illuminated by the ghostly green glow. They practiced rapid position changes, moving immediately after firing to avoid any potential counterattack, melting back into the darkness that they now controlled. Most importantly, they learned to leverage their unique capability as a force multiplier, providing invaluable early warning and precise targeting information to support larger defensive operations, fundamentally altering the calculus of night combat. Yet, like all revolutionary technologies, technical challenges emerged as the brutal campaign on Okinawa continued. The delicate electronic components of the T-120 scope proved vulnerable to the harsh realities of combat. Moisture, shock, and the relentless humidity of the tropical environment. Fog and rain degraded the infrared system's effectiveness significantly, turning the eerie green images into blurry, indistinct shapes. The heavy battery pack, a necessary evil, limited operator mobility, making rapid position changes difficult and tiring. Operators quickly learned to carry multiple spare batteries, as the power-hungry system drained its 6-volt source within a mere few hours of continuous operation. These were not minor inconveniences. They were critical vulnerabilities that demanded constant vigilance and adaptation. But these limitations, significant as they were, paled in comparison to the weapon's revolutionary impact. For the first time in the long, arduous Pacific War, American forces could effectively contest, and indeed dominate, Japanese control of the night battlefield. The profound psychological advantage that Imperial forces had enjoyed since the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor, that chilling dominion over the dark, simply evaporated. Night infiltration, the very tactic that had terrorized American troops from the suffocating jungles of Guadalcanal to the misty rice paddies of the Philippines, became, almost overnight, a death sentence for Japanese soldiers. The dark had ceased to be their ally. It had become their grave. The broader implications of this technological leap extended far beyond the bloody beaches of Okinawa. Military planners, observing the devastating effectiveness of the T3 Carbine, immediately recognized that night vision technology would fundamentally alter the very nature of warfare itself. If individual soldiers could see and fight effectively in complete darkness, Traditional concepts of defensive perimeters, secure rear areas, and even the natural cover of night would become utterly obsolete. The nation that mastered night vision technology would hold a decisive, almost insurmountable advantage in any future conflict. This wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about shaping the future of combat. American industry, spurred by the undeniable potential of this breakthrough, responded with characteristic zeal. The electronics laboratory, which had struggled heroically to produce 1,700 infrared scopes during the war, now received contracts for thousands more units. Plans rapidly emerged for equipping entire divisions with comprehensive night vision capabilities. Research programs, already underway, accelerated, developing improved systems with longer ranges, better image quality, reduced weight, and enhanced durability. The race to dominate the night had begun in earnest. The Japanese, meanwhile, found themselves technologically outmatched once again, caught in a relentless, escalating arms race they could not hope to win. Throughout the Pacific War, American industrial capacity and relentless technological innovation had steadily eroded Japanese advantages, one after another. The legendary Zero fighter, once supreme in the Pacific skies, had been surpassed and outclassed by superior American aircraft. Japanese naval forces, crippled at Midway and decisively broken at the Philippine Sea, could no longer contest American naval supremacy. Now, even the night battlefield, that last sacred domain where Japanese forces could operate on equal terms, where their meticulously honed tactics held sway, had fallen decisively to American technological superiority. The psychological toll of this repeated technological subjugation cannot be overstated. Intelligence reports, gleaned from captured Japanese documents, offered a chilling glimpse into the devastating impact on imperial morale. One such document, found in the headquarters of the 24th Division, described American night fighting capabilities as supernatural and incomprehensible, words that conveyed both fear and utter bewilderment. Another, a stark report from a battalion commander in the 44th Independent Mix Brigade, recommended abandoning night operations entirely, a radical and desperate measure. His words were a testament to the T3's power. The enemy possesses the ability to see and kill in complete darkness. Our soldiers fear to move after sunset. This wasn't just a military report. It was a cry of profound despair, a recognition that the very foundation of their night tactics had been annihilated. The resounding success of the T3 Carbine at Okinawa unequivocally validated a broader American approach to warfare, one that emphasized technological solutions to tactical problems. Rather than attempting to match Japanese night fighting skills through years of intensive training and specialized, often costly tactics, a formidable undertaking in itself, American engineers had simply developed a technological edge that rendered those very skills obsolete. This pattern, using industrial might and scientific superiority to overcome enemy tactical advantages, would become a defining hallmark of American military doctrine for decades to come, a strategic philosophy forged in the crucible of World War II. Production data from the war's end reveals the impressive scale of American commitment to this new era of night vision warfare. By the time of Japan's surrender, approximately 1,900 T3 carbines had been manufactured, along with thousands of spare scopes and battery packs. And this was just the beginning. Plans already existed for producing a staggering 20,000 complete systems, enough to equip significant portions of both the Army and Marine Corps, fundamentally transforming their night fighting capabilities. Only the sudden Japanese surrender in August 1945, brought about by the atomic bombings, prevented this massive expansion of night vision capabilities from being fully realized. The world teetered on the brink of an even more technologically advanced form of warfare. The technological lineage of the T3 Carbine extends directly and unmistakably to the sophisticated night vision systems used by militaries worldwide today. The basic principle, revolutionary in its time, remains fundamental. Using infrared illumination and electronic image conversion to create visible images from invisible light. While modern systems are dramatically smaller, lighter, and incomparably more capable, integrating thermal imaging, digital enhancement, and unparalleled clarity, they all trace their ancestry directly back to those first 150 carbines that so profoundly changed warfare at Okinawa. They are the direct descendants of a moment when darkness lost its power. Individual accounts from the T3 operators themselves provide invaluable insight into the human dimension of this technological revolution. Corporal David Kim of the 27th Infantry Division meticulously kept a diary during the Okinawa campaign, a testament to the surreal reality he inhabited. On April 15, 1945, he wrote, "Spotted 6 enemy soldiers moving toward our position at 0230 hours. Range approximately 50 yards. Engaged and eliminated all targets with 8 rounds. No American casualties. It still seems impossible that we can do this." His words convey a mix of professional detachment and profound, almost childlike wonder at the power he wielded. Private Ronald Martinez of the 96th Infantry Division wrote home to his family, undoubtedly censoring his words for security, but the underlying emotion was clear. "I can't tell you much about what I'm doing, but I can say that we have a new weapon that lets us see in the dark. The Japanese don't know what hit them. For the first time since I've been in the Pacific, I'm not afraid of what's coming in the night." And this isn't just a combat report. It's a profound testament to psychological liberation. Imagine years of living with a primal, gnawing fear, only for it to be lifted overnight by a piece of technology. The psychological transformation was complete, profound, and utterly life-changing. American soldiers who had endured years of soul-crushing terror from Japanese night infiltration suddenly found themselves holding an overwhelming, almost biblical advantage. The weapon that had seemed like pure science fiction had become a tool of psychological warfare, as powerful, if not more so, than any explosive device. Japanese commanders, reeling from the impact, desperately attempted to adapt their tactics to this chilling new reality. Some units, acknowledging the utter futility of night operations, shifted to daylight operations, reluctantly accepting the increased vulnerability to American artillery and overwhelming air power. They were choosing the devil they knew over the unseen demons of the night. Others experimented with long-range harassment, utilizing mortars and light artillery to attack American positions from beyond the 70-yard effective range of the infrared scopes, a desperate attempt to strike back without being seen. But these adaptations came too late and proved tragically insufficient. The technological gap was simply too wide to bridge with mere tactical adjustments. The broader strategic impact extended far beyond the immediate Okinawa campaign itself. Military planners, already deep into preparations for Operation Downfall, the terrifyingly planned invasion of the Japanese home islands, incorporated lessons learned from T3 Carbine operations with grim urgency. They anticipated that Japanese forces would, out of desperation, rely even more heavily on their perfected night infiltration tactics to defend their homeland. Consequently, plans were made to deploy thousands of infrared-equipped carbines to counter these anticipated operations. Intelligence estimates suggested that American night vision capabilities would prove even more decisive in the confined, intricate terrain of the Japanese home islands. Urban warfare, in particular, with its labyrinthine streets and obscured sightlines, would heavily favor forces capable of seeing and fighting effectively in utter darkness. The psychological impact on Japanese civilian morale, already strained to breaking point by years of bombing and privation, might prove utterly overwhelming when combined with the chilling knowledge that American forces possessed these supernatural night-fighting abilities. Of course, history intervened. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, followed swiftly by Japan's unconditional surrender, prevented this ultimate, terrifying test of night vision warfare. But the precedent established at Okinawa, in those 82 brutal days of fighting, had demonstrated the revolutionary potential of the technology beyond any doubt. In that relatively short span, 150 infrared carbines had fundamentally altered the tactical balance, shattered enemy morale, and contributed significantly, disproportionately, to American victory. Post-war analysis consistently confirmed the weapon's profound impact. Japanese survivors, when interrogated, consistently identified American night vision capabilities as one of the most demoralizing and tactically significant developments of the entire Okinawa campaign. Colonel Hayamichi Yahara, the senior staff officer of the 32nd Army, a brilliant tactician himself, wrote in his post-war memoir, with a touch of professional awe, "The Americans' ability to see and kill in darkness represented a technological superiority that rendered traditional Japanese tactics obsolete. Our soldiers lost faith in their ability to fight effectively under cover of night. And this was not merely a military defeat. It was a philosophical one, a shattering of a core tenet of their combat doctrine. The legacy of the T3 Carbine extended far beyond the battlefields of World War II. Improved versions, lessons learned from Okinawa incorporated into their design, saw invaluable service in the Korean War, proving devastatingly effective against relentless Chinese and North Korean infiltration tactics. The basic technology continued to evolve, giving rise to the sophisticated night vision systems that became standard equipment for American forces in the jungles of Vietnam, the deserts of Iraq, and the mountains of Afghanistan. Today, night vision capability isn't just an advantage. It's considered absolutely essential for modern infantry operations across the globe. Every soldier today who operates with night vision equipment, from the remote outposts of Afghanistan to the advanced training ranges across America, traces their technological lineage directly back to those first 150 carbines that dared to illuminate the darkness at Okinawa. The human cost of Japanese night infiltration tactics suffered by American forces throughout the Pacific War cannot be quantified precisely in numbers alone. But the psychological trauma inflicted by invisible enemies, striking with chilling precision from the impenetrable darkness, affected thousands upon thousands of soldiers. The T3 Carbine represented more than a mere technological advancement. It provided a profound psychological liberation from one of warfare's most primal, deep-seated fears, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the dark. It gave soldiers back their nights, and with them, their sanity. The technical specifications of the complete T3 system, while seemingly mundane, reveal the immense engineering challenges that American researchers brilliantly overcame. The T120 infrared scope, at its heart, required a formidable 4,250 volts to operate its image converter tube. To generate this immense voltage from a simple 6-volt battery pack, a complex vibrator transformer system was employed. This mechanism, while adding significant weight and complexity to the overall system, proved remarkably reliable under the incredibly harsh combat conditions of the Pacific. The infrared spotlight, meticulously filtered to emit only invisible radiation, could illuminate targets with startling clarity while remaining utterly undetectable to the naked eye, preserving the operator's crucial invisibility. The scope's iconic green-tinted display became instantly recognizable to the soldiers who operated the system. Objects appeared in various shades of green and black, with human figures standing out clearly, almost starkly, against most backgrounds. The narrow field of view, a limitation of the early technology, required operators to scan systematically and patiently. But the image quality, for its time, was more than sufficient for accurate shooting at the weapon's maximum effective range. It transformed an impossible task into a manageable one. Training protocols developed for T3 operators emphasized both meticulous technical proficiency and seamless tactical integration. Soldiers learned not only how to maintain the delicate electronic equipment, but also how to change batteries under the intense pressure of combat conditions, and how to coordinate effectively with conventional forces, ensuring their unique advantage was utilized without friendly fire risks. They practiced target identification relentlessly, learning to distinguish between enemy soldiers and friendly personnel moving in the darkness, a skill that could mean the difference between life and death. Most critically, they learned how to ruthlessly exploit their unique advantage while shrewdly avoiding the inherent technological limitations that could prove fatal in the unforgiving environment of combat. The Electronics Laboratory's production records vividly illustrate the rapid scaling of infrared scope manufacturing. Initial prototype production began modestly in 1943, with fewer than 50 scopes painstakingly completed. By 1944, however, monthly production had ramped up dramatically, reaching several hundred units. The facility's total output of 1,700 wartime scopes represented a truly remarkable achievement for a technology that had existed only in theoretical form just 2 short years earlier. It was a testament to American ingenuity and industrial mobilization. Field maintenance of the T3 system was no simple affair, requiring specialized knowledge and equipment. The image converter tube, the fragile and expensive heart of the infrared scope, was particularly vulnerable. Replacement tubes often had to be shipped halfway across the world from the United States, creating immense logistical challenges in the remote Pacific theater. Battery maintenance proved equally critical, as the lead-acid power sources deteriorated rapidly in the corrosive, humid tropical conditions. Despite these numerous challenges and logistical hurdles, the T3 Carbine's combat effectiveness made it one of the most successful and genuinely revolutionary weapons innovations of World War II. Its impact transcended its physical limitations. The kill ratio achieved by infrared-equipped carbines, as we've discussed, exceeded that of any other individual weapon system of its era. But beyond the numbers, the psychological impact on enemy forces proved equally, if not more, significant, decisively breaking the Japanese monopoly on effective night operations. Intelligence analysis of captured Japanese documents continually revealed the enemy's desperate, often wild attempts to understand and counter these mysterious American night vision capabilities. Some reports speculated about new forms of radar or highly advanced sound detection equipment. Others theorized, with a touch of desperation, that American soldiers had been given drugs that somehow enhanced their natural night vision. The reality that electronic technology could create artificial sight in complete darkness seemed utterly beyond Japanese comprehension, a true technological marvel bordering on the magical. The strategic implications of this technology extended significantly to post-war military planning. American defense planners with a keen eye on the future recognized immediately that night vision technology would become increasingly important, especially as potential adversaries eventually developed their own infrared capabilities. Research programs, so successfully begun during World War II, evolved into the comprehensive night vision systems that became standard equipment for American forces in subsequent conflicts, a legacy still evident today. Manufacturing data from the war's end reveals the sheer scale of the planned expansion. As previously mentioned, contracts existed for producing an astonishing 20,000 complete T3 systems, enough to equip significant portions of the Army and Marine Corps. Additional contracts covered vast quantities of spare parts, replacement scopes, and crucially, improved battery systems designed to overcome the early limitations. Only the sudden, dramatic end of the war prevented this massive, unprecedented increase in night vision capabilities from being fully realized and deployed. The T3 Carbine operators who fought at Okinawa became true pioneers in a brand new form of warfare. Their experiences, meticulously documented in after-action reports and poignant personal accounts, provided the foundational bedrock for modern night fighting doctrine. The tactics they developed, coordinating seamlessly with conventional forces, executing rapid position changes after firing, and engaging targets with systematic precision, became standard operating procedures for night vision-equipped troops around the world. Environmental factors, as with any advanced technology deployed in combat, significantly affected T3 operations at Okinawa. The relentless rain and pervasive fog degraded the infrared system's effectiveness, forcing operators to adapt their tactics to the capricious weather conditions, patiently waiting for breaks in the cloud or mist. High humidity caused nagging corrosion problems with sensitive electrical connections, requiring constant maintenance. Dust and debris, churned up by the ceaseless artillery bombardments, could damage the delicate scope mechanisms, blurring vision, or even rendering the system inoperable. Despite these numerous, formidable challenges, the system's combat effectiveness remained profoundly superior to any alternative available at the time. The broader technological context of World War II provides essential perspective on the T3 Carbine's enduring significance. While advancements like radar, sonar, and the terrifying power of nuclear weapons rightly received more attention and reshaped geopolitics, the development of practical night vision technology represented an equally important, if less publicly acknowledged, breakthrough. For the first time, individual soldiers could extend their effective fighting capability into the long, dark hours that had traditionally belonged exclusively to specialized troops or elite, highly trained units. It democratized the night, making it accessible to every frontline soldier. Combat reports from Okinawa consistently emphasize the overwhelming psychological impact of the T3 Carbine on both American and Japanese forces. American soldiers, previously terrorized and exhausted by invisible nighttime attackers, gained a surging confidence and dramatically increased combat effectiveness. The debilitating fear that had plagued them for years was replaced by an aggressive, almost eager readiness to engage. Japanese forces, long accustomed to owning the night battlefield, found their most reliable and psychologically potent tactics suddenly suicidal, turning their greatest strength into their deadliest weakness. This profound psychological transformation affected the entire character and duration of the Okinawa campaign. The night, once a cloak, became a spotlight. The technical challenges overcome in developing the T3 system stand as a testament to unparalleled American industrial and scientific capabilities during World War II. Creating a practical, combat-ready night vision weapon required groundbreaking advances in electronics, optics, battery technology, and complex manufacturing techniques. The astonishing speed with which these daunting challenges were resolved and the resulting technology deployed to combat units reflects the extraordinary effectiveness and urgency of American wartime research and development programs. Individual weapon effectiveness statistics from Okinawa, though varying slightly depending on the source, consistently reveal the T3 Carbine's exceptional performance. Most estimates suggest that each infrared-equipped carbine eliminated enemy personnel at rates far exceeding conventional weapons. This extraordinary effectiveness ratio, despite the system's complexity and cost, amply justified the investment, validating the uniquely American approach of using overwhelming technological superiority to achieve decisive tactical advantages. The aftermath of the Okinawa campaign saw intensive analysis of the T3 Carbine's performance. Military researchers meticulously interviewed operators, pored over combat reports, and analyzed captured Japanese documents to fully understand the weapon's unprecedented impact. Their findings profoundly influenced the post-war development of improved night vision systems and meticulously shaped American doctrine for night combat operations for decades to come. Manufacturing records from Winchester, Inland Division, and other carbine producers demonstrate the clever integration of T3 production into existing weapons manufacturing lines. The modified receivers required additional machining operations, but the basic carbine production lines could remarkably accommodate T3 requirements without needing major retooling. This manufacturing flexibility was crucial, enabling the rapid scaling of production once the weapon's devastating combat effectiveness was unequivocally demonstrated. The T3 Carbine's pivotal role in the broader context of American weapons development during World War II demonstrates the nation's extraordinary ability to innovate rapidly under the immense pressure of wartime. From the M1 Garand's revolutionary semi-automatic capability to the T3's paradigm-shifting night vision technology, American weapons designers consistently stayed ahead of enemy developments, often by a significant margin. This relentless technological edge proved decisively instrumental in multiple theaters and campaigns, tilting the balance of power irrevocably in favor of the Allied forces. Final combat statistics from Okinawa confirmed the T3 Carbine's revolutionary impact with stark clarity. In a campaign that cost the United States over 49,000 casualties and Japan approximately 77,000 military dead, the contribution of just 150 infrared-equipped carbines was utterly disproportionate to their numbers. Their astonishing 30% share of Japanese rifle casualties, achieved with less than 1% of American small arms, represents one of military history's most effective and strategically significant weapon deployments. The technology that began as a desperate, urgent response to terrifying Japanese night infiltration tactics evolved into a fundamental, indispensable capability of modern military forces worldwide. Every single soldier today who operates with night vision equipment, from the remote battlefields of Afghanistan to the advanced training ranges across America, traces their technological lineage directly back to those first 150 T3 carbines. These were the weapons that, in the darkness of Okinawa, irrevocably changed warfare forever. The Japanese had owned the night, their invisible domain, for 3 harrowing years of Pacific fighting. In 82 brutal days on a small, blood-soaked island, American technology took it away from them permanently, and the world was never the same again. The lesson here is profound and multifaceted. It's about the relentless march of human ingenuity in the face of desperate challenges. It's about how a seemingly small technological leap can have a disproportionately massive impact on the battlefield and, indeed, on the human psyche. It teaches us that true military advantage isn't always about brute force. It's often about perception, about controlling the narrative of fear and confidence. The T3 Carbine at Okinawa reminds us that the battle for the future is often won not just with courage and sacrifice, but with the visionary application of science and the relentless pursuit of the impossible. It reminds us that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the biggest bomb, but the ability to simply see what no one else can. And that, in the darkest of hours, can make all the difference.